Welcome to another episode of the Planet Coaster series, and we're going to be starting out with putting out some more of the benches and the garbage cans, but I'm going to decide that I really don't like the seat being overall yellow. I think it works well in the fairy tale setting, I guess, but it just wasn't working for the Santa theme that we have going on here, Christmas theme, rather. So I went ahead and changed out the main yellow body for a green, and then switched what I did have green to another red, and changed the yellow to be more pronounced. So, because it kind of starts looking like white against all of the other colors. But I'm quite a bit happier with this combination of colors. I think it looks nice against the trees and the decorations that we have. Now we're going to be setting up some of the vista points. The first one there is looking at that big Christmas tree in the middle there. And then I'm going to be setting up another one that looks at the station right there. What's really weird is here you can see that bottom half, or at certain angles, the bottom half of that point is very silver, like almost white silver. But at any other angle, it's black. So I don't understand why it looks like that. And then we're going to come over here and make one more right next between, there we go. We're going to be having it pointing at these gargoyles, so they can also take more pictures of that station. Then I'm going over here and just admiring that ride and getting my camera flung across the screen as it does. Putting out more benches and garbage cans because these lazy folk need them everywhere. And now we're looking at the adventure pack because Mango's amazing and went ahead and got me the DLC. And so I was having fun looking at the different things that I had as options. I considered trying to make a giant, like, nutcracker out of these statue bits that they have. Maybe I could accomplish it, but I don't think I was ready to do that yet. And we're checking out the cool spikes and the big ball and the saw, which scares the people when you pull it out. I don't know if you guys can see that in the background. Got little miners and this cool sign, which can be useful in a lot of different locations. And this is massive. It's like the biggest... all I can think of is automatic, but that's not the right term. But for the things that move, that's definitely the biggest that we have. The snake looks really sweet. I love its movements and everything. And then I really like this big ol' arch that we have right here, and I kind of thought that the top bit looked kind of like a snowflake, so I kind of made it a challenge for myself to use these pack that's clearly not meant for Christmas theme and see what I could do to make it work in a Christmas theme way. So that's been a bit of a fun challenge. But first, let's admire how many people are using this train. We already filled up all the way to the third seat, or the third car, so that was really exciting. And I'm going to be starting to put out some of the gems that we kind of looked at in I think that was the last episode, maybe. I wanted to add a bit little pops of color, and they're just really pretty, so I wanted to put up a couple. So we've got the red ones up there. I don't actually remember if I decide to put anything over this arch. It still looks really empty right there to me, so I keep wanting to put something there, but I don't know what, so I think it might still be empty. Oh, you know, I did find something I hadn't seen yet, and this keeps happening with this pack for some reason. Every time I use the filter to this certain pack, all of a sudden there are these things that I hadn't seen. I must be too narrowed in my focus and looking in certain categories and not all of them. But there's these wall decorations with lights on them, and I think that would look really good in that spot. So hopefully I remember to do that. No promises, you'll have to remind me sometime in the future to go back and do that if I don't. Here we're getting some of the research set up, just spamming numbers until it's more, because it'll just default it to the highest price. Then I decided to bring some of these gems over here. It's a little harder to work with because it's like a darker theme. I just placed it here to amuse myself. I didn't think it would actually work, but it looked really cool anyway. So we're going to be putting these really dark purple diamonds. They kind of look bluish, but it was, I think, a dark purple along the bottom. Unfortunately, it's kind of an odd spacing So this is like the best I could do on the back. Works really well on the front, but we don't have that luxury in the back of this station. And then I'm going to be putting, I think I stick with these slightly lighter purple ones and stick them along the bottoms of the towers, having turned them to the side. Just a little something to add to them, which I like. And then we're going to, well, first move the trees off of the path. I'm kind of surprised they stayed there when I placed the path around them, but we're going to start putting down some of the major buildings that we'll need. So we're starting out with the medic station building thingy, because that ride over there actually is making people sick. There's already been some piles of vomit over there, and we will be working on that in a little bit, adding a cleaner to this area and starting a new roster, I think they're called. I couldn't get this little U to place where I wanted it to for some reason. Like, I spammed the clicking and it just wouldn't place for some reason. Don't know why, so that's why it ended up kind of in a weird place, and then I moved it, because it was the best I could do. We're also going to be adding in a new shop for food and drink. Hopefully that helps, because it says often that our customers are hungry, so hopefully this will help with that. I'm going to be taking off a ton of the frosting on the roof there, which is going to turn out to be much more difficult than it needed to be, especially because I do end up removing that whole part of the building anyway. Sometimes I wish I could have like the foresight to know that I'm going to be removing something, but so I don't dedicate the time. Also, this is really sad. The majority of our shops cost more than they make us. Only like 4 of them actually make us any money. So that sucks a little bit. I was going to switch this out from the energy drink, like coffee, to being some water. Mostly because I'm more concerned about their thirst than I am their energy. Because I got benches everywhere. They're fine. So here I'm trying to replace the original awning with the one that fits it, and I wanted to make sure it was in the right place, so I was trying to replace it just right. So some of these frosting bits I couldn't click and select to delete, so I just started kind of working at it in little bits. So we're going to get most of them, but there's like 3 of them that no matter what angle I went at, I could not select them. Yeah, those 3. So I'm going to come up with a solution in a little bit, but it's kind of a waste because I'm going to get rid of that little tiny roof anyway. It sucks. I do like the frosting on the edges though, but it was too repetitive and there was too much with the way it was done by default. So I made it a little more for my style, which I don't mind. So yeah, I guess there's a couple on this back roof that also weren't working well. I tried doing like the select, like group select, but it was always selecting things in the distance that I couldn't see, and so I just gave up on it. So here we're going to be putting it back, and then I realized like I don't know how they had the triangle there covered, and I couldn't decide if this was meant to be a room or a chimney. It's awful big for a chimney, so I just decided to commit and do that by getting one of the columns, which I couldn't find because I was looking for pillars, unfortunately. So yeah, I'm gonna put these. I do like the I cannot think of what kind of candy this is, but I liked the way it looked along as like stripes on the building, so I went ahead and kept that to imply that this is like a brick chimney that would be red, which I think it looks real nice. Shoot some to that other side, and yay, we got a chimney. I also decided to kind of mimic the other style and put some of the frosting across the top of it, but it's gonna take me a minute, I think. Maybe. I think the problem is I don't actually know where to find that icing. Like, I knew it was called icing, and I typed it, and I searched in this area, and it wasn't coming up, and then I went into the building. It's because I was like in a folder. It's because I was looking in the columns and pillars for it. That would be why. Too bad I can't tell my past self that. We figured out. I just take some off of that back roof area that we have. It looks a little different from the other roof, but I don't mind. I kind of like the way it turned out looking. Here we're adjusting all of the Missy Good treats, which I think are like donuts or something. Oh, and the hip stop water. I thought I added stuff there and had it linked up, but I must not have. I believe the last time I checked, the ice made them unhappy, and so I had removed everything. But it looks like it's been fixed now because it did say it made them happy, so it's back in the drinks. And now here we are making new rosters. I was also updating the one that we did have. And we're checking on some of our staff, the cleaners specifically. We're going to take the 2 that have the lowest workload and put them in the new roster. Is that how you pronounce it? I'm not sure. So yep, we're going to hopefully get some things cleaned up. We also kept having some rides break, and the mechanics were not working on it for whatever reason, so I think that is something I'll be working on in a little bit. But here I'm deciding that I want one of those picnic areas, kind of like what we have in the autumn area, which is, by the way, really not useful at this point. Like, I think it's too close to the entrance, and because there's so much more of a park, they just like walk past it and they don't go back to get food or drink or anything, and by the time they walk past it again, they're leaving. And so that area is pretty useless to us right now. I'm not sure how to fix that. If we need to fix it, I'm not sure. Here is where we realize that the train has broken down. Only one of the stations, but I think it's because I forgot to adjust the inspection time. It was up at the 30 minutes, whereas I prefer to have my rides at the 10-minute mark, have them checking it out. And I grabbed a new mechanic for our area, made sure to assign him to the winter area with some difficulty. And apparently not only had the train station broken, which I had assigned requested an inspection on that train, and so I was like, why isn't he going there? Well, it's because this ride also has broken. So I brought him over, just picked him up, plopped him down. Much quicker than us walking. He's a very slow walker. Here I decided to want some more benches and trash bins. It's just like the theme of this game, isn't it? How many benches and trash can you place? Especially because in my game it's just how many things can you place that they will now ruin because they're jerks. Here we're making sure that everybody is being paid the same and that everybody is at the same skill level. You see right now that there's one that still has 1 training level, but they do it the next time they go to rest. It's not like they specifically leave to do it, at least in my experience, and so that's why that person still has it. So we're waiting for him to go on break, and then they'll take their lesson then. Here I'm just I went over and checked out the kind of size that I had for the last one of these that I built. This one ends up being quite a bit bigger, which is fine. I think the other one ended up a little small. And we're going to be putting on the entrance path here, and then I'm going to be using that arch from the adventure pack that I looked at earlier. Like, and I test the color stuff. I couldn't really find a place before for it, but I think where I do end up placing it works really well. I also liked some of these trims because you can also adjust their colors. So I'm going to be putting those along the inside. Here I'm just checking out some of the cool stuff that I have. And then I finally found the arch that I was looking for. And we're going to... It's funny because I placed this specifically as part of the building, but later it's no longer part of it for whatever reason. I think maybe I lifted it too far, or I clicked the button that accidentally removes it from a build, which was not an intention. I, tried to make it part of the building, but it just didn't want to be, so that's fine. Trying to get this lined up straight was kind of a pain in the butt. I was using the gingerbread coming through the pillars as a way to guide myself to make sure that it was as aligned with the rest of everything as is possible. I actually don't think I ever go back and adjust the fact that those gingerbread walls stick out through a little bit. I did try to think of something that I could place there or try to move the walls, but because they're buildings, they snap. Oh, that button gets pressed in. I only saw the mouth of it open. Anyway, so here we're just trying to decide which of these wall decorations, I guess, carved feature that I wanted to use. And we're testing out the colors of it to see what kind of winter Christmas style we can accomplish with this, and I think it works pretty well. I do adjust that brighter green, there we go, to a much lighter green, almost white, but not quite. And we'll be flipping this guy to have him match, but I also wanted to see what it would look like in the corner when these two met, and so that's what I'm going to be working on here. And if you set the colors beforehand, it'll continue to have that color set, so when the next time I pull out the flat one without the corner, it'll stick to that color combination. Whereas if you place it and then adjust it, it doesn't do that. So that's why I took the time to do it beforehand last time. There we go. See, it matched. So we're just going to be copying and pasting these all the way down the wall here in a second once we get it all lined up. There we go. Unfortunately, by the time we get to the end, it's obviously not spaced out well. That's the problem with freehanding it, but I just start scooting some of the ones at the end down to the place where I need them to be so that everything fits well. And thank God it's part of the building, because I will then be copying them all and moving them and doing all the other walls that way, opposed to just redoing it. I'm so grateful that I figured out how to do that, because doing this by hand on all of these walls would have been a pain. There I was testing to see where, like, how through the wall I wanted them to be, because they seemed to poke out quite a bit, and I wasn't sure if that's what I wanted, and so I was testing to see, but I think it works out the best the way it is right now. So yay, another wall done. I do think the corner pieces have a brighter red top for some reason. I should probably go back and fix that, because I don't think I actually do. Then again, nobody's gonna see that but us. These are 2 high walls, so I think they're like 2/3 of a normal wall height. So they'd have to be really peeking over and looking to see that. Now we're going to be copying this one and putting it on the front of the build. Unfortunately, it was kind of a pain in the butt to get these ones with the arch. I was just going to delete the arch and just leave it and put another one, but I didn't really want to get the colors right again, so that's why I scooted it up above, and at that point, I think, is when it stops being part of the build. Which is unfortunate, but, you know, that's fine. It's not a huge thing. I'm not going to be saving it or uploading this building, so. Here I was putting some snow along the bottom to try to get it to look like it exists in the world, and it isn't just placed on top of it, because snow often builds up along the edges. I should probably do some along these other walls besides the front, but I just didn't feel like it. I was too excited to try to find the snow to put along the outside on top. Oh, here, these things. These are those light things that I was talking about earlier that I think might work really well above that arch in the train station. You can adjust the color of the light. It is unfortunate you can't adjust like the black strip that the lights are on. Only the color of the light. But we'll do. But I think we should definitely put one of those on the train station. I don't know why I've never seen them before. No idea. So here we're going to be placing some of that frosting, because I want it to look like snow across the top of the partial walls, I guess is what these are called. Unfortunately, I forgot these two, and that just becomes a disaster. For some reason, I continue to accidentally copy it in some way. I'm not sure what I'm doing to do that. The only thing I can think of is I'm accidentally doing like Control X while I spin the mouse. I don't know. It's a pain in the butt. But I do this like 3 times before I'm able to accurately get everything up where I want, and I still had that one missing for some reason. And then I noticed in a lot of the builds that I was placing from the default had these icicles, and I think they looked really cool. So I was gonna put some around the outside just to make it look like the ice and snow had melted and then froze up again, and it just makes it so that the walls aren't so bland on the outside, because the inside actually looks really, really nice. I'm pretty happy with it. So the top of that icing, for whatever reason, if you look at it just right, looks like a butt, which isn't cool. Then we got a place to use these Christmas lights. I was going to put them up above on the like the light green area, but I didn't want to take the time to adjust them all, so I just committed to having them underneath, like underneath lighting. But I think it looks really cool. And the last thing we're going to be doing in this episode is decorating this Christmas tree because it's between these two buildings, and I think it actually looks pretty nice here. So we've taken this particular ornament and we're going to be hanging them up just like we did in the previous episode. Also, sorry that there's not going to be any of the return to normal speed in this episode. Again, the new editor that I have doesn't allow me to speed it up as much as my previous one did, where I could record as much as I wanted and still have it 10 minutes long. It would go faster. This one, it has a very specific place where it stops. And so I recorded too much. And so I thought this would be fine. But I'm very picky when it comes to placing these ornaments, which is fine. But I think it looks nice. Yay! So I think that's going to be it for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.